Before we get into this episode, there's something that might be of interest that I wanted to tell you about. Scene and Heard, who run this podcast, have been asked by Scotland Food and Drink to undertake a strategic review of the Scotland Food and Drink Excellence Awards. Now, these Excellence Awards have been going for almost 20 years and are a huge mainstay of the food and drink sector. But it's time to ensure that they're still relevant. So if you have ever been involved in the Scotland Food and Drink Excellence Awards, or even if you've ever had an opinion about them, we would love for you, please, to complete our survey. So if you go to the On Farm Twitter, which is at @on_farm UK, and click the link in the bio, there will be a tab in there that will take you to the survey, and it should only take you a very short while to complete, but we would be enormously grateful. Job done. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. And good boy.
Hello, it's Monty here, and this is Rachel Moyes from Midlothian, one of our two guests for this episode of On Farm.
Hi, Pony.
Here she is, exercising her friend's horse Ben.
Come on now. Come on, Ben.
On one occasion, when Rachel was exercising Ben, she had an unfortunate, nasty accident.
I think I landed on my back, so I moved, and then I just had all this pain in my back.
You had broken your back, is that right?
Broken my back
Yeah.
in 4 places, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Rachel was in a hard-to-describe, hard-to-find corner of a farm, and she wasn't exactly sure where she was. Only thanks to an app that she had stored in her phone, What3Words, was she able to get help.
I went to look at my phone, and I had it, and I was delighted that I did.
And then what? You basically just relay the What3Words to the ambulance people.
Yep. My 3 words were parsnip, risen, and bulky.
That's what this episode of On Farm is all about. We're hearing Rachel's story, and also from the What3Words team themselves, about what the app is, how it works, and how, in Rachel's case, and an increasing number of other cases, it's genuinely saving lives.
Thank you so much for inviting me onto the On Farm podcast this afternoon. My name is Albe Pereira. I work at What3Words. I'm a senior partner lead. What3Words is a simple way to communicate precise location.
It's a simple way, and it's so important. And we wanted to make sure that our listeners understood how important What3Words is, and actually it can save lives. Our second guest today, as far as I understand, What3Words saved your life, Rachel.
Yes, yeah. It really, really helped in an ambulance finding me when I was surrounded by fields, unable to explain where I was. So my name is Rachel Moyes. I work as a paediatric occupational therapist at the Sick Children's Hospital in Edinburgh. I also run my own online fitness business, which I started up during lockdown. And I'm a mum of 2 children, a 9-year-old and a 20-year-old.
And Rachel, you had an accident, a horse riding accident, in a relatively remote location, and What3Words came to your rescue.
Absolutely.
Is that the way to put it?
Absolutely. I believe I would have been there for a lot longer had it not been for What3Words. The ambulance that had been sent out to find me couldn't find me. The call handler couldn't find any of the road names that I was giving her that was close to where I was. I gave them the name of a local pub, hoping that if they found the pub, I could direct them from there. They couldn't find the pub, they couldn't find the cemetery, and panic was beginning to set in a little bit. And the call handler had actually said to me, "Do you have What3Words?" And I couldn't remember if I'd put it on my phone. I knew that I had it, but I didn't know if I still had the app. But when I realised I still had the app, the ambulance found me within minutes.
Tell us about that day. You obviously didn't set out to have an accident. You didn't set out to need What3Words.
So I've been riding my friend's horse for about 6 months. He's kept in a farm in quite a remote location, but I've ridden most of my life, and I'm really confident around farm animals, all animals, and particularly horses. So going up on my own and riding on my own wouldn't have been a concern. It wouldn't have been a red flag for anybody. It would be a normal thing I do in a week. So I'd taken him into the outdoor. There's an outdoor arena next to the barn, and I'd been loose lunging him, so getting him warmed up, not on his back. I was on the ground, and then he seemed ready for me to get on his back. but he's quite cold back, so some people might know what cold back means, but he just has quite a sensitive back. And he has a stool, like a special stool that you have to stand on to get onto his back. You don't get on from the ground, because when you get on from the ground, it can pull on his back and make him feel slightly unbalanced. But now I'd left the stool at the barn, and trying to save time, I thought, I'm just going to put my foot in the stirrup, I'll get up quickly. As long as I'm not pulling, I'll just quick up really quickly. So I got up on him, and I think my bum maybe touched the saddle for maybe a second, and then he had me straight off. I didn't last long on his back, so it was an error. I landed, I can't actually quite remember how it all happened, but I think I landed on my back, because I remember seeing him above me, and I was quite keen to get out from underneath him. So I moved, and then I just had all this pain in my back, and the outdoor arena has rocks on it, so I don't know if I maybe landed on, the kind of bigger stones rather than rocks. I don't know if I maybe landed on one of the rocks. I'm not quite sure, but I was just in immense amounts of pain. And I must have managed to get over onto all fours, and I was kind of crawling. I'd landed on my back, but I must have flipped over. And then from that position, that's where I stayed on all fours. And I couldn't move my back, so I just stayed in that position and phoned an ambulance from there. And that's when the call handler spoke to me and found out what my situation was. And luckily, they were able to prioritise me for an ambulance, because I was a female, I was in the middle of nowhere, I had a horse standing over me, but they couldn't find me. And the ambulance was there. It was actually really close.
So the ambulance was dispatched, the ambulance was in the vicinity?
Yep, but they just couldn't work out exactly where I was, because the arena that I was in was surrounded by fields, and there was streets, close by. So they were in the streets close by, but they couldn't find out exactly where I was in terms of the arena and the barn. And I was trying to speak to the call handler, who was obviously in communication with the ambulance crew. But yeah, they couldn't work out where I was.
So explain that. And the call handler in the emergency services phone line said to you, have you got What3Words on your phone?
Yeah.
And you were able to, but you weren't sure if you had it. You could dimly remember downloading the app.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. A friend had recommended What3Words to me a long time ago, and I think I was just curious, What3Words in my house, and I was just keen. I was curious to find out what my 3 words were. My friend has the What3Words written up on his fridge for his because he's got for young children. If his children had to phone, it's easier for them to say the words and remember what their address is. So I was just curious. So I got the What3Words, but then because I hadn't used it, I couldn't remember if I'd kept the app. But I went to look on my phone, and I had it, and I was delighted that I did.
And then what? You basically just relay the What3Words.
Yep, my 3 words were parsnip, risen, and bulky. They were my 3 words. So I gave her the words. She asked for the spelling of them as well, just to get it right. And then the ambulance service arrived really quickly after that.
That must have been just such a relief.
Yeah. I was getting really tired by that point, because my wrists were getting sore because I was on all fours, and I was feeling quite frustrated, and I think I was quite frightened as well, because I knew I'd hurt my back. I knew that the injury was in my back. So I was so relieved when they arrived.
Albe, I'm going to bring you back in on that. That must be a really, gratifying story for you to hear. It's horrendous. I'm not making light of what happened to Rachel, but the fact that your tech was so useful, you must feel really proud of that.
Absolutely, Monty. It really is humbling to hear Rachel's story, and when we do hear these stories, every single one of these, it really sort of even when Rachel was talking, I could actually add a little bit of sort of goose flesh coming up on my skin here, just hearing the story. And she talks about being scared and frustrated, and it's why What3Words works so well, because you're able to simply communicate those 3 words to the call handler. And for your listeners to understand what sits behind those 3 words, it's important to actually point that out as well. So if I may, Monty, what I'd like to explain is What3Words is very simple. We're not a mapping company. We've simply taken a grid and put it over the world. So it doesn't matter what map you use, you can put our grid over the top of that. Each grid square, as you pointed out earlier, is 3 meters by 3 meters. And smack bang in the middle of each of those squares is a GPS coordinate. Now imagine Rachel in her injury, where she's lying in the arena in a very remote location, probably cold, definitely scared, frustrated, as she said. A GPS coordinate is 16 long digits or numbers, and to communicate those effectively, easy to make a mistake, very hard to remember.
I'm not the techie man here, but I'm guessing that some sort of algorithm suggested that, 3 words is the best way of doing it, in terms of you're never going to have the same 3 words representing any square or whatever. A mathematician in your team said, right, let's do it, and that's how it works, yeah? Is that summary?
That's exactly right, yes. One of our founders is actually a maths genius. Our CEO and founder, Chris, he used to, or came from the music business, and he was particularly frustrated because he would have to send his bands that had signed to his label or to his organization to remote locations with little or no address. And although he tested GPS coordinates, he found people made mistakes and it was difficult to get people to use them. So in discussing his frustrations with his mathematician friend, they came up with the idea that they can divide the world into this grid. It's 57 trillion squares. For your listeners that may want to know just how many squares it takes. And then, yes, you're absolutely right. We've put a 3-word address onto each and every single one of those squares.
Wow.
It sounds so simple. It sounds so simple, but such a genius idea. But it also sounds so effective. And coming back to Rachel, you had broken your back, is that right?
Broken my back in 4 places, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Gosh.
I broke my L1, 2, 3 and 4, which is my lower back.
What I was very interested in you saying there, Rachel, this is relevant to our listeners, no matter if they're horse riders, working in farming, whatever. You said, it was a sort of split-second mistake. You could have gone back for the stool. You could have done it the way that you probably should have done it. How many accidents happen on farms with horses or whatever that are you're just trying to save time?
I know. Yep. And 9 times out of 10 you get away with it, when you're making these little decisions, but then on that time that you don't get away with it can be catastrophic.
Yeah, exactly that. I mean, Albe, you make reference to the goosebumps at listening to Rachel's story, and you've heard other stories like this, and I guess you must relate to that some of these things are just split second and something goes wrong.
Absolutely. And what we're seeing in our ecosystem, Monty, is that, the farming community is using our technology for lone workers who are out there on tractors, working late at night, harvesting. I'm not a farmer, so I'm careful with the words I'm choosing here, so I don't say the wrong things.
We'll keep you right.
Yeah, you'll keep me honest. But what we're seeing in our ecosystem is farmers are actually using the technology for their lone workers who are out on tractors out there, or for example, if they have a seed delivery or crop protection delivery to a remote barn and they need to be there at a specific time, then they communicate What3Words to their vendors, to their delivery partners, and that delivery happens first time round. So there's this fantastic use case with the emergency services, but what we're also seeing is that the farmers are actually able to benefit from it also in their day-to-day operations.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I couldn't possibly go into the specifics because it's one of these things where I actually don't know the specifics, but I was thinking of a very, very sad story from about 10 years ago here in the Borders, when we had a really bad winter and there was a lone worker out on a quad bike who perished in the snow. I guess the bike broke down or something. I don't know the specifics, but anyway, we're pushed for time. There's not massive teams on farms and what have you anymore, and we do work on our own, and we are out and about in places that do have inherent dangers, etc. And that's that sort of thing. What3Words could be a game changer, but on the lighter note, or on the more business note, as it were, you are also talking about things like that. You're talking about which field am I supposed to be doing this contract work in? Where am I supposed to be delivering this seed to? Where is the burst drain? Whatever it might be. Again, what easier way to communicate?
That's correct. That's absolutely right. So, there's the day-to-day operations, and as we've said, there's the good emergency services use case. And we always encourage people to download our app. It's been downloaded, I think, more than 30 million times now. And Rachel had it, which is great. But to your point, Monty, about lone workers, we even have emergency services teams that can now send out a Find Me link. In the event that someone doesn't have the What3Words app, they'll be able to click on the link that the emergency services have sent to the person that's in need, and that will give them the 3-word address that they can then communicate back to the call handler and then dispatch a team out to look after that lone worker. 85% of emergency services across the UK have fully integrated with our technology now, and it allows them, in the event of an emergency call coming through and the person does not know what 3 words, they send out a link to the person's phone. The person clicks on the link. That link automatically provides the exact 3 meter square that they're on with the 3-word address. They give that to the call handler, and the call handler is able to dispatch the emergency crew.
Ideal. I guess that would work even if it wasn't a smartphone then.
A GPS signal, that's the main thing. You do need a GPS signal to be able to communicate that 3-word address. And if you think about a situation where maybe a guardian has got into trouble, and a younger person who might be, talking to the call handler on the phone, not knowing where the app is, feeling very nervous, very scared, that Find Me link comes through and also just saves time to get help out to the right person. So for your community of listeners who can relate to these kind of stories, we of course encourage them to download the app, but our emergency services teams across the UK, 85% of them now have also the facility to send a Find Me link.
You said something earlier, Rachel, about the friend who got you onto What3Words has something on his fridge that gives the 3 words of their house. Is that right? Is that what
yes? Yeah, that's right. He's got 3 young children, and for they don't know what their address is, and they would probably find it hard to articulate what their address is. They're very young, but they probably could remember the 3 words. So he'd recommended What3Words to me because he has it on his phone, and he had the 3 words up on the wall for the children.
The use, the possibility, and the reasons for using it just, it's almost infinite in terms of how useful this is. I mean, I had read something in the farming press about encouraging people to have 3 key points on the farm: the entrance to the farm and the workshop or whatever it might be, with the What3Words written down so people understood it. But just the fact that even children could relate to that and what have you is interesting. I'm pleased to be making this pod today because I feel it's like a public service broadcasting mission with this one.
Yeah, absolutely. I tell all my friends about it. Everybody that wants to speak about it, I'll tell them about it. I've forced all my family to download it onto their phones. I think it's brilliant. And even if you go out and you walk or you run or you cycle, we've got a railway line that passes our house, and I know where I am, but if I was to stop and someone was to say exactly where are you, I'd be, well, the railway line, but I don't know exactly whereabouts.
And actually, that's quite a key point as well. And a lot of our listeners are farming and rural and what have you. But we've got people listening all over the world. We've got people listening in all sorts of walks of life. I'm just thinking here that actually it could be almost as relevant, or probably just as relevant, in an urban environment too. We're
now having our solution work at many very large stadiums. And where large events happen, like, for example, all the rugby that's going on at the moment during the Autumn Internationals, Twickenham Stadium lists the entrances to each of the car parks, the entrances to the hotels, the entrances to the right gate, the entrances to where the emergency services might be, or the first aid tents. And really importantly as well, for fans with accessibility needs, points of entrance where they can get their wheelchair because there isn't stairs, or for people that might be going along with visual impairment, specific entrance names with 3-word addresses that they can then put on their phone and allows them to navigate to these areas safely and first time round without getting lost. And that's for an example or a use case within a large event. Coming back to your point about urban settings, what we're finding in cities especially is someone has a sofa delivered to an apartment block, and the sofa company comes to deliver this large bulky item, but they don't want it at the front door. They actually want it at a service elevator around the back, and there's no address for that. So we're actually having vendors and logistics partners start to work together to communicate 3-word addresses of where that specific entrance will be to be able to deliver that large bulky item. So that's one example of where in an urban area where addressing generally is okay, there's still specific delivery points which are not addressed.
You're kidding yourself that it's all about sofas and what have you. It's really about takeaways, is it not? It's about pizzas.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely right. Yes, yeah. No, for sure. I think during lockdown, Domino's Pizza as well did integrate with What3Words and use us to so that there was you had to have contact-free delivery and there was all of that going on, and Domino's straight away said, why are we not using this?
It's just very clever. Is there a how-to? Is there a YouTube? Is there something that talks people through it? Or is it just as simple as visit your website and take it from there?
Absolutely. So, we encourage all of your listeners to, obviously in the first instance, download our app, reach out to the folks at What3Words. We have a website as well, what3words.com, where we'd be more than happy to talk to anybody and provide a demo of how it might be working in an operational setting. We have a team back at What3Words that's even now talking to the technologies that sit within the farming community. For example, we've just created a little plugin within Microsoft Dynamics Business Central. This is used by some farming organizations for deliveries to happen. So instead of having to come out of that software, that tool that they use every day, and use What3Words, we can actually just plug it straight in there for them and they can use it straight away. So we're working very hard to support the farming community. We're endorsed by the NFU. And our CEO comes from a farming family, so he knows the frustrations of rural addressing. And yeah, we'd be more than happy to help. They just need to reach out to us.
And if I go out and spend, £1 million or whatever it is on the latest Range Rover, it's all built in for me, is that right?
That's correct, yes. Jaguar Land Rover is one of our recent automotive customers. So today we spoke about emergency services, we spoke a bit about logistics in an urban and a rural setting, and another use case for us is automotive. That's absolutely right. So Jaguar Land Rover now, Mercedes-Benz, you can get inside your car. Our technology is embedded within the satellite navigation, and you can say, hey Mercedes, take me to What3Words, and then provide your 3-word address, whatever that might be, and it automatically routes to that exact 3 meters square.
If it can work in a Range Rover, Land Rover, whatever, it could be hardwired into a tractor.
Definitely, yeah. All of the any kind of automotive setting where a vehicle is being travelled to, then yes, the technology can. And if you think about voice technology in a car, and you had to say to your Mercedes-Benz, take me to a normal traditional address like 13 Church Street. Mm-hmm. Well, there are 1,300 church streets, I think, across the UK. So immediately your car's going to be like, well, what church? Which church street? Which county? Which country? But with What3Words, that 3-word combination, the one that Rachel used earlier on, parsnip, neon, bulky, that is unique to that 3 meter square where she had her injury. No one else has that. And therefore, from a voice point of view, it's a lot easier to train the computer because we also only use 29,000 words to cover the whole face of the globe. So it's easy to train the computer, and therefore your voice technology in a car becomes much better to use with What3Words.
So long as we understand every accent and, Rachel got a bit techie there, but really, to you, What3Words was just a tool that got the ambulance to you when it was needed.
Absolutely, yeah.
And because it got you, because the ambulance was there when it was needed, mm-hmm. rather than being lost in the nearby streets and roads, mm-hmm. and whatever. What was the kind of prognosis when you got into hospital? Was it one of these things, I'm guessing, had you been a bit later, the damage could have been worse?
Well, it could have been worse, yeah. And I guess you've got to be really careful with back injuries. And I think it could have been worse in the way that if they hadn't found me, I would have probably tried to move myself. there's only so long you can wait in a position. And as I said before, I was getting really tired and I was getting quite frustrated. So there's a chance that had I been there any longer, I would have had to make a decision about what I was going to do, and that would maybe mean moving myself, which could have made it could have made it a lot worse.
Yeah, crawling to the end of the arena, out into the yard.
Yeah.
Trying to attract attention or whatever.
Yep. I think the other important part of that story as well is making sure you always have your phone on you. Quite often when I'm running or I'm riding, I kind of feel it's kind of me time, and I like to leave my phone. Sometimes I'll leave in the barn, or I'll just leave, even if it was just at the side of the arena. I wouldn't have been able to reach it. But for some reason, I tucked it into the side of my riding boot that day. And I don't know why. I don't always do that when I go out. So I think it's really important that you make sure that you have your phone on you.
To be fair, that is important. And I can't remember where I first picked up on that. But my phone, if I'm out and about checking stock or whatever on the farm, the phone will be sitting in the wee cubby hole in the dashboard. But I've read this and it's been drummed into me, I don't know where, but I always, even if I'm just getting out to close a gate or whatever, phone goes in my pocket. And I just think that is such an important lesson. I don't mean to be preachy about that, but you get out to do one little job and you suddenly see something else that, oh God, those cattle shouldn't be where they are, and you run off to do something, and that's when things go wrong. Yep. So I think you're absolutely right. Make sure your phone's with you. The next step is to make sure What3Words is on it.
Yes, yeah.
Huge thanks to Rachel Moyes from Midlothian and Albe Pereira from What3Words. We talk a lot, don't we, about farm safety and how many deaths and injuries still unfortunately happen in the countryside. But this is a really easy and effective precaution to take. It's free and it's recommended by the emergency services. We always ask you to share on farm and tell people about us and help spread the word. But with this episode, I really do hope you'll share it, because you could well save someone's life. Before we go, after recording that interview with Albe, we were having another chat, and we asked about whether they could share the 999 call from Rachel's accident. They didn't have that one, but what they were able to share is this. A call with a little girl called Isla, who's 7 years old, and helping her mum through an asthma attack in the car.
Ambulance service, what's the full address of the emergency, please?
I can't breathe, sorry.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can't breathe.
I need to know the address. Is anybody there with you?
My daughter, who's 7.
Does she know the address? Is she able to say it to me?
No.
Okay, so what town or city are you in?
Mum.
Okay, I'm going to send you a link, okay, so if you can open it when it comes through to your phone and let me know what the 3 words say there, okay?
Configure. Audio. Brought in.
I've located you, okay, so just to confirm, are you the patient there?
Yeah.
Okay, and you're struggling with your breathing?
I'm asthmatic.
Take your time there, okay? Have you tested positive for COVID in the last 14 days?
No.
Have you had your COVID vaccination?
Yeah.
Now tell me if you have any of the following symptoms. So a temperature of over 38?
No.
A fever?
No.
Okay, so stay on the line. I'm going to tell you what to do next, okay? So carry on using that nebulizer for these attacks, okay? And what is your name, or what's your mum's name there?
Catherine.
And what's your name?
Isla.
And how old are you, Isla?
7.
You're doing really well there, okay? We're arranging some help for your mum, okay? My name's Maddie, okay, so I'm going to stay on the line with you. Do you know the colour of your car there, Isla?
Red. There's kayaks on the roof. A big red one.
What else have you been doing today, Isla?
I've been holding a puppy called Mabel.
And was she giving you cuddles?
Kisses more like.
Oh. And have you got any pets, Isla?
Yeah, we've got a dog called Roly.
And what colour is he?
He's black, white and brown. They're behind us.
Who's behind you?
The ambulance.
They're going to help Mum now, but you've done really, really well, Isla.
Hello, ambulance.
Okay, take care, bye.
Brilliant stuff. Brilliant stuff. Well done, Isla. And well done to What3Words and the ambulance service. So, just our usual reminder to finish up with. The On Farm podcast is made by our team here at Scene&HerdPR and Marketing. You can give us a shout anytime if we can help you with any aspect of telling your business's story. Whether that's podcasting, helping with social media, communication strategies, designing your website, anything else in the PR and marketing realm, give us a shout. With that, that's it from me, and bye for now.